What's up, nerds? Private Food Bar here. Today, we're going to be using the same equipment I was issued as a patrol officer when I worked for the local city police department. Let's get started. We got the ball cap, all in black, mindset police on it. Unfortunately, we can't really do that here. So, let's move on. Dark sunglasses, because we got to fit the stereotype of, oh, I can't see his eyes, but I can see my reflection. Always got to rock them. Weapon system is going to be the Glock 19 with a tack light. At my department issued handgun, we had red dots on ours, and it was actually the Glock 17, but we did have the extended butt plate to give us a few extra rounds. JPC is going to be left completely blank because all I had on my vest was a body camera, handcuffs, and a radio, all of which we do not have in Ground Branch. Our black tucked in polo shirt. Our battle belt is going to consist of four magazines technically, of the Glock 19. On mine, I actually had two over here and one for my emergency reload, along with the primary weapon ammo. So when I was on patrol, I didn't always carry my primary with me, so thusly is the reason why I'm not going to be using it in this video. We got our black tactical pants, a holster for our handgun, black gloves because we don't mess with bloodborne pathogen. That stuff's gross. Black tactical boots. Let's go ahead and hit it. Well, I suppose while we're here, I'll go ahead and give you guys a little brief story time. So, no joke, it was shortly after I was released out of the field training program and I was an officer on my own. I was patrolling, it was night shift, and around, say 11 o'clock, I'm going by the park and I see a vehicle there. The thing that's odd about it is the parks in my area closed at sunset. So, this guy was already there and he's not supposed to be there, so let's go ahead and investigate. While investigating, I find this dude, and I'm creeping up on him. I don't have any lights on or anything like that. And as soon as I make contact with him, no joke, this dude was cranking his hog. And I'm like, what? Anyways, I'm talking to this guy, trying to get information from him, like, who are you? Why are you here? This, that, the other. And the entire time I'm having a conversation with this dude, he's just holding his dick in his hand, and I'm so confused. And curiosity kills the cat, and I ended up asking him. I'm like, hey man, like, why do you come to the river to do this? Why don't you just do it at home? And he goes, well, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it. I was like, go ahead, man, tell me. It can't be that weird. I'm a police officer. I've heard weird shit from people. And he tells me that he gets off to the smell of the river. And I was sitting there and I'm like, processing what he said. I'm like confused. Like, did this man just tell me that he gets off to the smell of a river? Mind you, this river isn't like a spring or anything that. It is a nasty ass river and it smells like shit. But I guess people are weird and to each their own. After that, I was like, hey man, look, you gotta go. Like, you can't be here. Technically, I could place you under arrest for it, but I didn't do that. The man was just trying to enjoy himself. And there wasn't really any victim here, minus the state. So, with that being the case, I let him go. He was trespassed from the park, so he wasn't ever allowed back, which thankfully I never saw him again. But yeah, that was one of the weirder calls I've been to. And it wasn't even necessarily a call. It was like a proactive policing, if you will. One of the more sad calls I've been to, if you guys are animal lovers, this is about a time where I advise you guys to proceed with caution because this one does involve animals. More particularly, it involves dogs. And I know for me, I was like a big dog person. And yeah, it's just like, just prepare for it. And I go and receive a call to a certain address, and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I'll go ahead. And it comes out as initially an animal complaint, which I'm not too worried about. Like, I've dealt with those, and they get stupid, and it's not really as bad as everyone makes it to seem. Well, once I get to said animal complaint, like, before I make contact with anyone, I'm reviewing the CAD notes. God damn it. I'm reviewing the CAD notes, and it says that the house was being inspected, and the inspector's the one that called saying there's dead animals in the house. I'm like, what? So I get out of my patrol car, and instantly I just get a whiff of like something, and it was gross. It was almost made me vomit, and I was like, all right, whatever. Where's this dude at? And he's meeting me out by the front door, and I talk to him. I'm like, yeah, so what's exactly happening? He ran me down, or he did a whole rundown about what's going on. It was the worst smell, man. Like, I can't, like, talking about it, I can smell it. It's one of those core memories that you have where you can smell everything, hear everything, all that. It was horrible. Anyways, I go in the house, and as soon as we get the door opened up, I see another dog, and I'm like, ah, shit. And I don't know what this dog's gonna do, but I'm not the ATF, so I didn't pull out a gun and, like, shoot the dog or anything like that. I'm a dog lover. I kind of coax it into coming over to me to see how it's doing. And the dog was, god damn. The dog was doing all right, and, well, I wouldn't say all right, but you could definitely tell the dog's being neglected, and it's malnourished, and it needs to go to a vet like a while ago. So we get it put in emergency vet, and while that dog's over doing that, I continue to investigate the house, and I do like a sweep through the house and make sure there's no one there, because it's an active crime scene at this point. I gotta secure it. While securing it, I discovered two kennels, which both had deceased animals in them, or two deceased dogs, I guess, if you want to go with that instead, more specifically. And I'm like, damn, this dude's fucked up. And as I go and try to like, secure the rest of the house, it was one of those things where it was so bad you couldn't even walk through the house without literally stepping in shit. And when I say there was shit everywhere, I mean there was literal shit everywhere in the house. And it was foul. Ah, man. It was so bad. Anyways, I continue my search. I don't find the guy, but I found the two deceased animals inside of crates. Like, this dude did not care. These things were dead for a while. It was actually very heartbreaking to me, because I'm like, man, it's just a dog. What did the dog do to you that you had to treat it like this? But we moved on, and we began our investigation to find the homeowner, which we did end up finding him. Thank God. And he wasn't very far, so we went ahead and snatched him up without further ado. Upon getting him, we placed him in custody and all that. And after we placed him in custody, I set him in the back of my police car. And I'd say maybe 10, 15 seconds into him being in the back of my police car smelled so bad. Like, I didn't want to even sit in my own car. Had the windows down, and it was hot outside. It was like 90 or so degrees. Like, it was bad. And I take the dude back to his house. I'm like, all right, man, like, how many other dogs are actually here? And he's like, well, there should be 3 inside, or 3 dead ones inside and 1 live one. I'm like, what? 3 dead ones inside and 1 live one? I was like, well, the live one is at the vet now, so you know, or an emergency animal hospital. I said, I only seen 2. Where's the 3rd one? And he's like, oh, it's in the living room in the corner underneath the blanket. I'm like, what? So I go into the living room, and I go check where he's talking about. And there, sure shit, there's a box in the corner with a blanket over it. But there's also a mountain of beer cans, like, piled on top of it. And I uncover it, and there was another rotting animal. And I'm like, like, at this point, I'm getting pissed, because this dude's just straight up neglecting these animals. And we've discovered 3 carcasses and a malnourished dog. And as we go on, we start securing the yard. While we secure the yard, I find bones, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here, man? Like, these bones don't have, like, hair or anything like that with them. It's straight up bones, no meat, nothing. This thing's been sitting there for a minute. Well, I bring that up to him. He's like, oh, yeah, that dog died a a couple months ago, and I'm sitting there, dude, like, what's going on? And after he found out about all these animals, he didn't really show any remorse, and he just said that he didn't have time to bury them. Which, at that point, we're like, dude, you're just full of shit. He's like scumbag of the earth type level. And we proceed to take him to jail, and even the intake at the jail didn't want him. This man smelled so bad. And shortly later, we find out that the dog that we had rescued earlier in the day, the one that we rescued when we got there, the dog did not make it, and it was very sad, actually. It was one of the most heartbreaking things ever. What I will give as advice, though, is if you guys are getting into that line of work, prepare to see the worst in people. People are weird. Like, you're gonna see a lot of shit. Talk to your friends about it. Friends that you trust that are also in law enforcement, because they can relate. A lot of people say, "Oh, I know how you feel." That's not entirely true. That being said, guys, I have more stories to tell. I'll tell them in later episodes. Until then, you have my guidance. Dismissed.